Fourth Estate. Like I've done things, and they're not memorable. They don't matter. But you know, there were opportunities when there was a ramp. A lot of times when you start a business, you have a year at minimum of just getting by. You're putting everything into it, and you're getting nothing out of it. And then this little ramp starts to form. And then what happens is that if you can continue to push forward, and overcome your obstacles, you start to have exponential return on your investment. But getting there is the most difficult part. 80–90% of businesses fail before they reach that ramp, before they even feel the inflection point. Well, there have been several occasions when I've gotten to the inflection point, but the problem with that was that I did not have a clearly delineated set of responsibilities for all the participants.
I went down the wrong street.
Including myself. I mean, you know, a lot of people that I've participated with felt that I failed as well. And that's fine. The problem, the ultimate failure is not having it clearly delineated what everyone's responsibilities are. And so what I see happening a lot of times are artists wanting to work cooperatively, but they work with a very limited number of people, because when you start to add more people in, you start to get a diminishing rate of return, because it's too chaotic.
You got more mouths to feed.
Yeah, well, you got more mouths to feed, and if you don't have the structure to utilize everyone effectively, then you start to get people who are idle. People, and this is another thing that I feel like I've observed, is that people work to the lowest amount of effort being contributed by any member, not to the highest. Like if you have 10 people, and one of them is like an overachiever, and one of them is a slacker, the people drift to the slacker. They don't drift to the overachiever. And what ends up happening is that they usually martyr the overachiever, or they kick him out because he makes everybody or she makes everybody feel bad.
The overachiever is becomes the what was the word I was using? The house Nazi.
Yeah, right. And so in order to avoid that, and this is where, if we go to any of these businesses in Kansas City that are successful businesses, and I mean kind of beyond boutique, then when you go in there and you're like, oh, well, what's the secret to your success? They're going to give you a lot of BS about, vision and all the stuff you used to see on
PR.
Yeah, a lot of PR. But the fact of the matter is, what the key to their success is their operating agreement, which says that the security manager is going to be responsible for these things. And there's a huge folder that says all these paperwork has to be filed all the time. And then people are like, well, I don't want to be restricted by paperwork. I don't want to be, but that's what keeps the system organized. That's what keeps you from achieving.
Well, that's what makes it a system.
Yeah, right. And that's what makes it a business.
Yeah.
Beyond the boutique, like I'm just an individual and I'm running a tiny little store, and I'm never going to
grow
outside of this.
Yeah, you don't want to have 5 people standing around at a shift, and then the next shift, the busy shift, one person can barely service the needs of the customers.
Right, and in order to get vision of that, in order to see that, you have to keep accurate tabs on what you're doing. Like as a gallery, that's something that Jessica and I have merged into over time. Like we began working with the art community in Kansas City in a very free and dissociative sort of way, just kind of allowing the chaos of the relations to work themselves out. And what we discovered is that nobody is achieving anything that way. I mean, people are having their art seen on First Friday, and that's great, but people aren't transmitting their ideas and their artwork as effectively as they can. And so, we've decided to focus on that. We've created a business in order to do that. We're going to be able to offer, the correct tax paperwork to artists so that they're not always just like doing things under the table, constantly never reporting their artwork. I mean, for the intents and purposes of the IRS, the vast majority of artists I know, and this includes the successful ones, would be considered hobbyists. And most of them don't report their earnings.
So where was the Stray Cat?
It was right here. The front door of the Stray Cat would have been right about where the ticket sign is there, 364666.
And the Stray Cat was a gallery?
It began as an art gallery, and then the bread and butter became music. Because people music is immediate and visceral in a way that art isn't. I mean, art is immediate and it's visceral, but it's not as enjoyable in the group setting. Like, if you start beating a drum and there are 50 people standing around, they all start to tap with it. They all start to move with it. There's this natural inclination on the part of humans to become part of the rhythms of their environment.
Stray Cat was right here.
Yeah, it was right here. And the city just kind of kicked us in the face. But in this instance, when the city kicked us in the face, we didn't pull harder. We completely resolved.
They gave you well, I understand. I didn't know until you told me last time they were willing to give you relocation money, but...
They gave my business partners relocation money, which they frittered away on, I don't know, like rent in some little place. Now, I went to Peregrine and negotiated with her to lease the Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to pay her, I think at the time it was $2,000, maybe $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
The city was willing to pay that. The city was willing to move us into a new space. But the way that I had set up the kind of egalitarian system of the Stray Cat,
you lost out.
yeah, I did not have the support of the other members who just threw my stuff out into the streets. I mean, I organized and orchestrated all this after I was homeless. Like, they threw me out, which is fine.
They made you homeless.
Yeah, they made me homeless, but the fates kind of opened a pathway for me. I remember sitting there's a set of trees that overlook the West Bottoms, and I was sitting in those trees. It was a cold winter night, and praying, not to any particular deity, but just kind of like to the trees or whatever. It's like, what is going to happen to me? Like, I have lost everything and have nowhere to go. And then amazing things opened for me. A friend had a room available. I started renting that. I was rehired at Linda Hall Library, thankfully. That place has saved, pulled my fat from the fire more than once. And so I recovered from that,
So we're sitting by the front door where your place was.
Yeah. And it was a fun experience, but I don't hold on to that. I have a lot of friends, I feel, who keep wanting to relive those memories. They want to go backwards and recapture it. And that's not the way progress works. Progress works by taking the best of what you experienced and figuring out how to transmogrify that into something new.
Yeah.
And the keyhole became that for me. The keyhole is but the thing is that we don't have the capacity to, the Stray Cat could house 500 people. I mean, it was a big venue, and the keyhole, yeah, it was a big building, but the keyhole's not about that. But again, the Stray Cat for me was supposed to be about visual art. It just became about music when it became all this.
Oh, that's my wife. Hello?
Hey.
Hey.
What you doing?
We're doing the talk show.
The talk show?
In the car. We're live on the internet.
I know you're live on the internet. What time is it? It's
So-
already 8:05.
Say hi to Jeff.
Hello.
About 4?
Hello. What? Are you there?
What time did you start?
We started at 7.
Oh, you started late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say hi to Jeff. Say hi to Jeff.
Who?
To Jeff.
Oh.
Hello, Cian.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're
I
sitting
thought you
in...
were doing your talk show earlier than...
Oh, no, I didn't get off work until 7.
Oh, I see.
Oh, and there's this place you're gonna like. It's called the Tea House and Coffee Pot. And is that right? Tea House and Coffee Pot.
They have good tea there.
Good tea and good scones. You'll like it. We've been kind of looking. Yeah. But they're only open until 6 these days. But they're planning on being open later. I talked to the. I don't know if he's the owner, or probably one of the workers there.
Yeah.
And it's in a very strange location.
Really?
But not so strange if you understand a little bit about Kansas City history.
Alright, well, I will be off. I'm not that busy, but I have some work to do.
Okay.
But I might be off on time, so we'll see you later.
All right, love you.
Nice talking to you, Jeff.
Nice talking to you, too.
Bye.
Enjoy your evening.
Okay.
Yep, she's at work.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody's listening and they, like 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 10 minutes later when they actually see this, they can call us at that phone number. We won't hang up on them.
Yeah, I remember the Sprint Center to me. I met Stan Glacier and talked to him when he was running for mayor.
Oh, The founder of Stanford and Sons.
That is correct. And
Comedy club.
Yeah, we talked at length about the idea that he had was to develop the River Market area and move from that into the downtown area and allow local businesses to develop the resources that were already here.
Oh, was he caught up in the River Key War?
You know, I don't know. He didn't really go into that too much. I know that there is quite a history there.
Because I know that he started back, I think he founded Stanford and Sons like 74 or something like that.
Yeah.
That was back in the 60s and 70s, the little comedy clubs were popular. You know, the stand-up.
Right. You know, he met Sam Walton. He used to run a kind of wholesale place down in the Bottoms before he started Stanford and Sons.
Really?
And Sam Walton came up to talk to him about it. And Sam Walton asked him if he wanted to invest, because his idea was to go into smaller towns. And Stan Glazier was like, "You're crazy, you're out of your mind." And he says that, of course, that's one of his big regrets in life, where you didn't realize that it was going to take off.
Sam Walton did. He went into the smaller towns with a discount department store.
But Stan Glazier was running a discount department store kind of warehouse in the Bottoms at the time. And it was that idea, but not focusing it in major metropolitan areas, rather in smaller communities. That and Stan Glazier thought he was nuts. I think a lot of people did. And it totally worked. I mean, as is evidenced by the fact that his children are now like, what, 4 of the richest people in the world.
Yeah, my dad knows several very rich men. He meets them at auctions and stuff, and they're the kind of guys, they're a lot like Sam Walton. You wouldn't know they're rich because they're not driving in flashy cars. Most of them drive around in beat-up pickup trucks.
Right. And there's something honest about that. I think you find that a lot in the Midwest. There's this kind of tendency to be less flashy and showy with things. We're a more reserved culture in that respect.
So I mentioned the River Key War. That's kind of an interesting deal. Happened in the mid-late 70s, 76, 77. Around this area we're in now, the River Market of Kansas City.
Yeah, I think this place was blown up a couple times, right? The City Diner?
Blown up? I don't know.
Bombs?
There are those of us who feel like there was more to that than just a couple of mafia families going at it. I think there was a lot of city politics involved, and there was just this, you mentioned Stan Glazier wanting the small bill painting, sketch, watercolor, what, you know, and he comes up and he uses some words like, "What are you?" And the artist, oops, just walked right into me there.
Anything to be famous.
Yeah. Oh boy. Then the artist goes, "What do you mean? Well, what are you?" And then he throws some words at him, like big words.
Yeah, right.
Like what you just said.
50-cent words.
Are you a postmodernist, impressionist? What are you? Neo again?
Yeah, neo-abstractional dialectician.
And the guy goes, "No, I'm an artist."